And we are live. Hey girls, hope you are well. It's Anita here from Sequins and Sand. Lizzie, are you there, my love? Lizzie always tunes in first, and when she gives me the thumbs up, I know that people can hear me and see me, but poor old Liz is in hospital
I
tuning in.
know
So
it might be what endone she's on at the moment. She's
how
with
many
us or
times
not.
she's hit that green button. Anyway, Liz, we love you. If you are tuning in, I hope you're feeling better, darling. So I own Sequins and Sand, have done so for about 12 years, I realised the other day. And we wanted to do something during these corona lockdown times that gave you girls something to come back to and recenter and to learn and have a few laughs and a bit of fun. So we gathered these awesome, wonderful women, 13 of them, all experts in their field to talk about so many different things. One of them is travel, and that's where Lee comes in. Lee, looking fabulous in your blue today. Hello, Lee.
Hi, Anita. Hi, everybody.
How are you today?
Good, thank you. And thank you for inviting me back.
You are welcome. You are, I'll be sad when we say goodbye because you're a big hit here in the Lunchtime Live series. The girls love you and your insightful tips on travel. We are all desperate. I know. Well, I'm pretty sure that we're all desperate to get out and travel again once this lockdown is lifted. And we're getting a sense of that starting to happen. You might know a little bit more about that or up to date a bit more about that than what we are. But with that comes this lovely sense of it's possible and there is hope that we're going to be able to do that perhaps in the not too distant future without getting ahead of ourselves. So, today, girls, Lee is going to talk about travel after lockdown and she's going to base it on the answers to the poll that we put out yesterday. Thank you so much for answering those. Quick and dirty, we put it out there just to see what would happen, and you girls were awesome. You responded beautifully, so thank you. And I can see now that, Lee, we've got Liz. Hi, Lizzie.
Lee.
Hope you're feeling well, darling. And Yvonne and Angela. Hi, girls. Thank you for letting us know that we are able to be seen and heard. So I'll shut up now and let you take over, Lee, because you do that so well.
I'm happy for you to keep going. Very happy.
You just sit back and think, when is she?
Yeah. Okay, that's my session. Thanks, Anita.
Yes.
Bye.
Take it away, Lee. What did you learn from yesterday's poll?
Well, it actually was really interesting, the results. And thanks again to everyone who did fill them in, because it gives us that little bit more information just to know where your heads are. And what was fascinating is that 33% of you ticked that, yep, you're ready to go in the first month. There was 38% that said between 3 and 6 months, which surprised me. I thought most people would be ready. Basically, the bag's already at the front door ready to go.
Yeah.
But 29% of you said that absolutely really want to go, but just will wait and see how things go. So that's interesting because we're in Queensland here. We've been quite fortunate that, one, we still have sunshine, and two, we can at least go outside, ride our bikes and do quite a few things. We're down in Victoria.
Yeah.
I think it would be much, much harder to even be thinking of dreaming about your next holiday at the moment. But yeah, so those results were interesting. But what it made me think when I was talking to Jeff about it was that if you go back to 9/11, 2001 now, that's how many years ago it was, it took till July 2004 for our travel habits to start to pick up to be equal to what they were before 9/11. So
Right.
3 years it took for all of us to think, okay, I'm ready to get back on a plane. I'm ready to do the long haul. So if you put that into context, it does make sense that people are going to be apprehensive. And also, if you think back, the security changes that came with 9/11 still stay with us right till today. So we've still got, shoes off or aerosols, gels, liquids, cockpit doors are locked and bulletproof, etc. So I don't envisage security changing, but what probably will change is health checks will be included at the airport. So remember those long queues that we have with security?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now consider, like Emirates recently have started using blood tests at the counter, and they did it for particularly passengers going to, I think it was North Africa, and they get the results in 10 minutes. But that's still, so you won't be able to run late for your flight.
Bugger, that's always me.
Yeah, I know. Well, we've actually been known to even miss a plane or two and then head on the next one. So there will be some changes, I imagine, and people are suggesting changes, but until we're finally out, and honestly, like international travel, unless there's a real reason, it's going to be way into 21 before we even consider it again, and until they have a vaccine trialed and tested. So that's kind of sitting out there. But what was also interesting with your survey is that 55% actually said they want to drive, not fly, when they first leave.
Yes.
So, and if we take international out of the equation, then if you're thinking domestically, that's quite intriguing that many people are wanting now, they want to go, they're getting ready to go, but they're going to drive to those destinations. So the other thing that's coming through for those of us who may one day go back on a long haul or back on the international flights is that not only blood tests being introduced at the check-in counter, but also some countries looks like they will be asking for a COVID-19 certificate. So you may have had to do a very recent test before you fly, or it'll be part of customs. And unless you present your certificate, you won't be allowed access into that country. There's obviously a lot of talk about people wearing masks on the plane, at the airport, restricted services on the plane, no longer magazines behind the seats because you don't know how many people have handled them.
Transfer,
Food will be pre-packaged and served to your table or to your seat. They're also speaking about only being allowed to have your handbag, your briefcase, or your laptop inside the cabin. Everything else will have to go underneath. So no longer being able to take our 7 kilos, or if you pay the extra 10 kilos of luggage and not putting anything underneath. Now, none of this is in concrete. This is just the discussions that are happening at the moment.
Yeah.
The UK is also quite fascinating because they're talking about an immunity passport. Now, this hasn't been approved by the World Health Authority or organisation, and it also hasn't been supported by any evidence, but it's starting to gain momentum, and they're saying that if you've had COVID-19, there's less chance of you getting it again. So you could have an immunity passport. But at the moment, no one has actually proved that. But it is starting to pick up momentum, particularly amongst Europe. So we'll just wait and see what happens there. The international airport in Hong Kong has already introduced a full body disinfectant little room that you walk into, and you stand in it for 40 seconds or you get sprayed with whatever after having your temperature checked. Plus, they've also introduced and trialing robots that go around the airport zapping with ultraviolet light, whatever they, microbes, whatever. And I noticed on I don't know if Dean White's on at the moment, but they live in Hong Kong, and they posted a video the other day that the shopping centres have also got these little robots going around the shopping centre zapping with ultraviolet light. So the world as we once saw it, even post 9/11, is not going to be the same world that we will go back into after this.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
No, you go.
I was going to say, you raise a whole lot of stuff that I never even thought of. Like, this is so invaluable. I had didn't even stop to think of how our lives would change, and putting it into the context of 9/11 as well, different circumstances, different threats,
Totally,
but
yeah.
still, the point that our lives will change. And um, yeah, even post vaccine, you begin to wonder, we all talk about privacy and our
Yes,
data and all the rest of it. This to me sounds like there's a whole other level of personal privacy that's going to be invaded, if you like, or there'll be less freedom of motion or movement where you go, well, you know what, unless you want to do this, this, and this, like they're rugby players, right? Unless you
yeah.
have your vaccination, you're not going to be able to play. There might be certain restrictions that will probably influence how far we're willing to go in order to travel.
Yeah, I think our comfort zones are definitely going to be stretched.
Yeah.
Um, never to, and I can still remember after 9/11 just thinking, oh, wow, like when will we get back on a plane? And as I say, it took 3 years for
Yeah.
a lot of people, but it did happen. And until we're finally allowed to travel, and for pleasure and recreation, then the services we won't know what's about. But given July 1st, if everything goes according to plan, then hopefully we can start to travel domestically again. Qantas are talking about we're actually going to be completing our check-in before we arrive at the airport, so there's no contact at all. So if you're like me and not great at doing your boarding passes on your phone, we're going to have to get a whole lot better at it.
Right.
And there will be different things for domestic as well that will be brought into it.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to, if we break it down from your questionnaire, and given that there were so many of you that wanting to choose road travel, then if you add it together, whether it be visiting family and friends or actually going on a holiday road travel, it's 55% of you wanted and preferred to be road travel at the moment. So whether that's within the first month, 3 months to 6 months, or by the end of the year, they're ready to road travel. And with that, the other thing that's been coming through from the research showing that people may in fact choose holiday rentals as opposed to hotels to stay in. And I guess that makes sense because you can control it. You'll kind of turn up with your own cleaning bottles and disinfectants, and at least within your own environment. Where with a hotel, if you've got someone coming in daily, you're not really sure, cleaning your room, and then crowds in a lobby at check-in, etc. So that will be another one to watch and just see, okay, I wonder if that will happen. But when I started thinking of road trips, I actually got a little bit excited because we mentioned even when we've done the road trips solo in our last little chat, and we have done some of the most fabulous road trips. And the first one that comes to mind immediately as a destination, and I'm not sure if a couple of my friends are on who live in Tassie, but it's Tasmania. To be able to put your car on the ferry, go across, there is so much opportunity. And the wine, the gin they're now distilling there is fantastic. The food is amazing. The scenery is incredible. And you can go from like Cradle Mountain to Freycinet to down to Port Arthur, which has so much history, and it's still, it just still brings chills when you walk through that to this day.
It does, yeah.
Bruny Island, it just doesn't stop. Even just around Hobart itself, it's there is so much to see and do down there, and so friendly and so easy. That would be definitely a tick. If you're happy to do a little short haul flight with it, and let's face it, there's only going to be a handful of you on the plane. Flinders Island and not Kangaroo Island, King Island, extraordinary. And I don't know how many of you have travelled there, but you won't be disappointed. It is fabulous. The cheese and the wines, you could just live there for quite a few weeks. You don't have to do a whole lot, but you can also, once you get across there, hire a car and then off you go. So from Tassie, I was thinking then about the other areas, and we used to spend a lot of time on the Sapphire Coast, and we used to drive from Melbourne, but visiting Merimbula and Bega and Pambula, right along that area, it's just stunning. So really easy area to travel. WA, Margaret River.
Nullarbor, straight across.
I know, and that red dust that gets in the back. You have to line the boot with plastic. Whatever you do, line the boot with plastic.
We used to live in Darwin, and I can tell you that we were still finding that red dust in the car 3 years after we left.
But as you say, it is fantastic. We've done the drive as well. It really is.
Colours are spectacular.
Yep. And if you're going South Australia, the Barossa and actually like Kangaroo Island, they're desperate to have visitors after the bushfires, etc. So there are a lot of areas that would say, please come and visit.
Yeah.
Put your hands up. So road trips are really an ideal situation at the moment because once again, you can control it.
Yep.
The only hiccup I see is that you've all kind of been locked in a house for some time and then you're getting in a car again for some time, but at least you've worked out your kind of comfort of, there will probably be a system now that you've worked out as a family how you can control it. And I don't know how many of you have done it, but you could also think of hiring an RV or a camper van and do it.
Yep.
It's all out there. Fantastic.
It is. I am just getting a few comments in from the girls, Lee, if I could interrupt for a tick. Yeah. So hello to Rab. Liz says we're frozen. I don't know about that, Lizzie. It might be the hospital, darling. And Angela, who did our health chat with us on menopause, which went off, by the way, Angela, we're still climbing the view charts on that, said that she's obviously a keen hiker. So she'd planned to go overseas to, I think it was around Mont Blanc, I think from memory.
I saw that.
Yeah, because Ange filled out the poll. And she said if she can't get to do that in September, it'll be delayed for another 12 months. But an alternative is Tassie. We're back
and hiking.
Yeah,
how good is the hiking?
That was my dream. For my 50th, I wanted to do that, but I'm an August baby, and they said, honey, everything's we're all iced in August. You can't do it then. But I love the idea of that. And with the road trips, as you were talking, I was thinking about all of these regions where, bushfires have gone through and they've been decimated. A road trip is a wonderful way to see our beautiful land, whether you go regionally out west or whether you go up the coast. We do it every year to go to our little beach house.
New South Wales Highlands. There's so many areas that were affected.
There are so many things. But we might have to, do you think, Lee, really research a bit more before we head out, because some of these towns might have limited places to stay or, facilities to be able to cope. I know we've got a little beach house we've had for a long time, 3 hours north of Sydney. And that's in a regional area where they're saying, look, for now, even though restrictions are being lifted and you can do day trips and things like that, we still don't want you in our area because we can't handle it. So I think somehow, wouldn't it be great to have somewhere where you could go to, put an itinerary together for a road trip, knowing that where you want to go, there's places that are able to take you and accommodate
and
you.
I'm sure if you contacted the local information centre, because many of those little towns, as you pull into them, you drive in and invariably at the entrance of the town is the information centre where you can pick up your maps and you can pick up some ideas and accommodation. But if you call ahead, they'll be able to give you an indication of just how it's going and what's available and what's not. But honestly, a road trip, equally supporting those who have done it really tough, much tougher than us, starting even from the beginning of the year, I think it's just fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah.
Moving along from road, guess what? No one wanted to go cruising.
I know.
No one. Oh, my goodness. But I think it's because we're all immediately thinking of the big cruise ships. And honestly, what just happened, we talked about it last time, was just absolutely horrific.
the bar.
And as someone who loves checking in on which ships are where or what boats are where around the planet, I use an app called Marine Traffic. And if any of you are familiar with that and Google it, if you go into Manila and the bay outside Manila, you're going to see every cruise ship we've ever heard of sitting around this area, or the majority, because many of their crews are Filipino and they've got to get permission to clear their cruise. And it's just amazing. I think the whole of the Princess line is sitting out there. Queen Elizabeth is sitting out. Like, it's just phenomenal. Just for purely information only, but I found it intriguing. But with the cruising, don't forget there are small boats and small ships. And my bucket list still has the Kimberley.
Yes,
So,
that's number one on mine.
well, we'll go
Yeah.
together for your birthday.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, because August up there is fantastic. That's a
Yes.
dry. That's the place to go. Yeah.
And with the Kimberley, some of the boats I think are kind of like 36 passengers up to probably about 120, 150.
Yeah.
One of the things I do think might happen after our experiences now will be that they probably won't do a full passenger allotment. You probably will, same with flying. I'm fairly sure they will do reduced numbers just till everyone gets their kind of feet back and know what to expect, which the small ship sailing, it does mean it'll be more expensive. So you need to look out for the sales. But no, the Kimberley, I just think, wow. And if you were able to get to New Zealand, honestly, one of our most favourite small ship experiences, and it was 332 on this ship. And I don't, as I say, I don't believe it'll be 332 now, but you go into Auckland and then get another flight, and Tahiti, it is to die for cruising around that area. So no, don't discount cruising. There are options. Just don't think of the big cruise liners. Like, I probably or equally wouldn't jump on a big cruise liner just for the moment. But no, the small ones, just have a look around and just see there are other options, and they would just be beautiful. The other one that got zero, people, I need to talk to you, rail travel.
Low and
It
slow.
is fantastic, rail travel. Those old dining rooms, you think you're Queen Bee sitting up back in them. Like, it's the yesteryear, and they're just so fantastic. I've still got the Garn on my bucket list. I wanted to do that. I want to do the tilt train up north here, Queensland. I have done some of the others, and I love it. Sleeping in a sleeper is really good fun. So don't discount cruising and don't discount train travel. It is possible, and it could be really fantastic. And it's another way. You can go across to Perth that way. You can go up. If you think in terms of up along the Queensland coast, you've got Victoria, South Australia, WA linked up. You've got, is it South Australia up to, where does the Garn go up to? Darwin? Through the
straight
middle,
up.
Northern Territory.
Yep.
Yep. Lots of options. So don't discount those two. You'll be surprised just how much fun both of them can be, and you can still control your environment to some degree. So those. And as I say, air travel, 29% of you said that you're happy to try domestic. Only 20% said for international. So it's not your favourite mode of travel. But bit by bit, I think we'll get back into it.
Yeah.
It will be
That's
there.
kind of what I read into a little bit too, was that even starting with the car, we're starting in a comfort zone that we can control a bit more, maybe that feeling of being a little bit tenuous about travel is reflected in that to some extent as well. I'm not sure reading into it, but it's exciting that Australians will probably see more of their own country,
yes,
this time round, and for lots of reasons. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, well, we've even found locally here, because Queensland, we've just been allowed to just be that little bit further out. We're not mixing. But Jeff and I have done, on our push bikes even, we've found areas I didn't even know existed, all within, a few K from our house. And for example, Sunday for Mother's Day, Jeff organised that. And I don't know I don't watch MasterChef, but there's a lady that used to be on that called Julie Frost, or was a contestant on it. And she's got this little farm out the back, and it was only 20 minutes from here, and it's at the base of the hinterland. And it's Julie Frost, I think, kitchens. And she prepared all these hampers. And as you drove through the farm gate, you picked up your hamper, and there was this really large paddock, all treed, and had the most amazing little creek going through it. And it's one of those creeks that's bubbling over the rocks. Had a swimming hole if you did want to go for a swim. And everyone set up their picnic rugs in different areas. And she would have had quite a few people that you didn't come across anybody else. But it was the most beautiful, beautiful day, just hanging. So there are lots of there's lots of exploring still to be done, all within our own backyard. And I think as a result of COVID, there are a lot of things that has happened that we almost can be thankful for, in that we've rediscovered lots of different things and reconnected in a different way that we hadn't prior. One last statistic that came out of your survey was that 45% of everyone that ticked the boxes are dreaming of a beach holiday. So that's the number one.
Where are my togs when I need them? Hang on a minute.
So come on, off you go. This is you now. And you actually should have done today in sunglasses, a beach hat, because for that many people, and I agree, our first Hello Me escape, once we know what we are able to do, will be in a resort, a beachside resort. Your retreat is going to be in a beachside resort. So we're all kind of thinking beach, straight after lockdown, driving the vehicle. To get to the beach, we might have to go through a few of those areas that really need our help.
Yes.
And then settle into a lovely little spot by the water. And if I was thinking in terms of when I'm ready for a long haul, and my dream destination it's actually the only destination, and this is honest, when we got off the seaplane, which sounds really luxurious anyway, and I was so excited being on a seaplane, I actually burst into tears, and I've never, ever done that before. I was so overwhelmed, and it's the Maldives. It answered every single part of my dreams I've ever had. And I think I'd head back to the Maldives again. That was pretty special. And you almost need to reward yourself a little bit for being coming out the other end. Touch wood that, we keep being as good as we have been, and we keep getting the results, and there's not a second wave. But we're nearly there. July 1st, all doing well. And if Victoria's finally allowed, 5 people, they must be getting better at it down there. They've got the strictest.
Have we got any Victorians watching at the moment? How are you going, girls? I know Rabs in South Australia, they've been pretty good.
They've been very good.
Yeah, and Rab's just saying Flick wouldn't agree. We had a bit of a retreat catch-up the other day, and when you mentioned the Maldives, I never know how to pronounce it.
The locals call it Maldives, I think, because I got corrected a bit when I was over there. Maldivians are the people.
Maldivians, right. It looks amazing, and the water looks, and she said it was an incredible colour, but her words of warning were around the cost, in that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're almost a captive audience when you're there, and you need to be prepared to put that extra effort in to get around, so there's a lot of things that you need to get on a boat out to sea, and then not everything's included, depending on the package you take, I guess. But she always felt like she was putting a hand in a pocket.
If you can afford half board, and for us, the alcohol package, well worth it. But no, you're right. And also, we chose a much smaller environment rather than the super duper bigger island that has a number of people and like 12 restaurants, because they tended to be quite expensive. But where we went, it was more manageable. And we're already in Singapore, so it didn't really make a lot of difference to nick across. But it still was. It was just extraordinary. And an overwater bungalow if you can afford it. Oh, to wake up and just be looking down from underneath and just walking straight off your little platform and
away you go.
snorkeling. Yeah.
Lovely.
So good luck, everybody. Stay safe. Keep the travel dreams going.
Yeah.
And no doubt we'll see you on the beach sometime soon. Or I hope the car parks can cope with all our cars.
Well, that's the flow-on effect, and I hope they don't just jack up the price of petrol and do all of that because, we're going to be on the roads again. But that's what we're, firmly what we're looking at here at Sequins and Sand now is how best do we get the girls ready for their beach escapes, because I know a lot of them do love the beach. So how do we get everyone ready through the next few months as best we can to get the girls beach ready for those wonderful escapes that we're all longing to have. Are you doing
a lot of Zoom fittings?
Well, they've not been taken up, but then again, not much is being taken up at the moment. No. But yes, we'll go harder on letting more people know because we did. Well, it's a bit of an aside, but we did another survey recently about for Sequins and Sand specifically, not a very niche topic like this one was. And we got a phenomenal response. Again, a lot of information out of that. And probably half the girls didn't even know that we offered fitting advice. So, we've got some work to do in terms of getting the word out about stuff like that. But we all ask questions around body confidence and, how difficult is it to find a swimsuit and all those sorts of issues and problems that we all face when we're trying to get ready for our holidays. But dream on, we will, and we can't wait to get out of lockdown. I know.
And don't ignore rail travel and the little boats. It is good fun.
Well, you know what? If the roads get so congested, we might look to the trains to get to where we need to go. That's
absolutely. For sure. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Lee. Girls, that's our last Lee session. We speaking of local travel, it's probably quite timely. Lee has taught us so much about traveling overseas and how to travel alone and all of those things. Lee, you need to write a book, seriously. You need to put all that together and do a series, all of that. You've got so much knowledge. But I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have done a fantastic job, and I know the girls really appreciate it. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
It's been a delight. And then coming up, sorry?
As I said, stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, let's not get too carried away when lockdown is lifted. I'm excited about heading down to the Gold Coast this weekend to see my parents because I haven't been able to do that being in Brizzy for a while. So this weekend, I think from the weekend just gone or this weekend coming, we're able to do that.
You can come down.
Yeah.
You can wave to me as you go past.
Oh, well, you're very close to where they are, actually.
I know.
I'll work it out when I see your posts where your balcony might be. So thank you, girls, for tuning in. Next with travel, we have Laurel, who's going to be talking about inland travel. So it's quite timely that if you do want your road trip, heading to the outback towns of Australia. So that'll be really, really interesting. And then tomorrow, with our next Lunchtime Live, we are joined by the lovely Maddie, who is an exercise physiologist here in Brisbane, about some basics, some mat Pilates. So if you've ever wanted to give mat Pilates a go, she's going to take us through a few simple moves to do to get you familiar with what that's all about. So that's tomorrow. Thanks again, Lee. Have a wonderful day. You are amazing. And thanks for tuning in, girls. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.